all right. So we did the homepage already. We're good, and we have ability to show whether we are authorized or not, and then if we are already authorized and the username is. So basically, if you're already logged in, there's no reason to show this information here. So, but this information will show up if you're not logged in. So it makes the homepage a little bit more dynamic, okay? Instead of always showing in a login on the homepage, you really want to do that. And that also becomes a friendly thing to, not a useful thing to use, because in many applications in the future, you're going to have the homepage where it's going to be different for the authorized users and and different for the non-authorized users. So that's actually a pretty cool thing to have. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to actually set up this login endpoint right here so that people can actually start using, right? Can start logging in. So we're going to bring in some new stuff in here. We're going to bring in the custom widget, the custom signing widget that Okta has for us, and we already installed. So if you remember, we installed this Okta signing widget right here, right? So let's go ahead and open up our custom login, and then in here we're gonna start bringing in some stuff. So first thing we're gonna need is a use effect. A use effect. We're gonna use a use effect because we want to make sure that we have information available to us on load, right? And then we're also going to use our use ref, because we're going to be using a widget and we need to load the widget on some kind of HTML div, right? In order to load a widget or to load some kind of plugin or some kind of something else onto a div, like for example, let's say it was a map. If you bring in a map from a piece of API from Google Maps or something like that, and you have to attach that map to a div so it loads inside that div, you have to use useRef. And what useRef hook does, it basically creates a reference so that whatever I am attaching to that div by reference will be able to connect to it by that name, that reference name. So it's basically like a label. It's like saying, hey, put this socks in this sock drawer, and the sock drawer is going to have a reference in front of the drawer that says socks. Right? Makes sense. That way you don't end up putting it in the underwear, and then you end up trying to put an underwear around your parts. That will not work. Stop. All right. So what are we gonna do from here? We're gonna use Okta React, which we already kind of right here. We already did. So anytime that you are using that you're playing with Okta, you're gonna need to bring in Okta from Okta React. So you're gonna be using this import a lot, pretty much on every page that is going to need some kind of verification stuff, some kind of Okta stuff. And then the next thing you're going to be importing is going to be a new one. It's going to be import, and then this I forgot the name of this wildcard. Import wildcard as Okta sign in. Okta sign in from Okta signing widget. Okay, so yeah, that's good. And then we're going to be needing our configurations, which we have somewhere up here. We're gonna bring in our configuration. Now this actually may not work like this. I think we need to go one step behind. Yep. So make sure that you pay attention to this, okay? That's gonna be a little bit different than this one, because this one is in the same root, it's on the same level. So therefore it just uses one dot. But in this one, you're gonna need two dots because I am inside pages. I am one level deeper. So I need to go one level back in order to access my config file, okay? So I need that. And then obviously I want my widget here to be kind of like a little bit more centered and stuff like that. So I want to add some margins and stuff. So I'm probably gonna bring this right here, this material stuff, put it in there, and I'm not gonna need a button because basically everything that's gonna come in is gonna come in from the widget itself. Now the widget comes with a set of CSS that eventually you can change, but we're not gonna customize it because that's gonna take too much time, and that's not the purpose of this video, of this tutorial. What we're going to do is we're just gonna bring the CSS for that form, for that widget, the way that Okta creates it. But just know that it could be changed with regular CSS by basically using whatever classes is already hooked on it, and then coming into use index CSS here and using that file. Okay, all right, just so you know. So how we're gonna get to it, we're gonna just go ahead and go to Okta sign-in widget, and then in Okta sign-in widget we're gonna go to the dist. And if you don't have this that I'm doing right now, it's called Path Intellisense. I don't know if this is something that comes with Visual Studio or if it's part of one of my extensions. Just load my extensions. Trust me, I'm lazy. I like doing things easier. So if you load my extensions, you're probably gonna have a lot of these easy stuff. All right, so we're going into the CSS folder because that's what we're trying to reach. And then here, actually I have to call it by name, but it's gonna be Okta dash sign in dash, no, not dash, dot min dot css. Okay, so just pause if you have to and make sure that this is correct. All right, and we are now ready to start putting all this stuff in here. So let's go ahead and open up some room here. And first thing we're gonna do is we're going to bring, just like here, what is it? Maybe not. Maybe I haven't done it yet. All right. So anyway, we're gonna create a new. Oh yeah. We did. It's like it's here. So we're gonna destruct out. Just go ahead and put that in there. We're not gonna need the alt state, but we are going to destruct the Okta auth out of the use Okta auth resource, right? We're not gonna use everything. There's, like I said before, there's a lot of stuff in here that you can use, but we only need this. So we're gonna destruct this out of it so we can use only that. And then we're going to use another one. It's called const, and we're gonna call it widget ref. We're gonna create a variable called widget ref, and then in there we're going to attach the use ref hook in here. So worth to notice, there is a difference here. It looks like I'm doing the same thing on both of these, but I'm not. If you notice this right here, this means I'm destructing a property that lives inside here and I'm bringing it out in here. This, however, means that I am making a copy of this, sort of. I am getting this information and I'm copying it inside of this. So this right here shouldn't really change. This can be something like that because this doesn't exist in there. Okay. However, this can be whatever I want because that's just a variable that I'm creating. But obviously that'd be hard to remember. So I use that because it's a little easier to remember. All right, cool. So the next thing now I'm gonna do is I'm going to start my use effect. So in my use effect, actually I'll just use the lazy way, use effect. All right, I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to delete this. Man, I'm so lazy. Of course, I know how to build it from scratch, but I just like doing it this way. So what we're gonna do in the use effect is basically we're gonna check to see if the widget reference is exists or not. So if it's current. So we're going to, if the widget ref is not current, meaning it's not loaded. If it's not loaded, then basically return false. Okay. All right. And then now in there, we're going to bring some. Okay. So here's the cool thing. So we're gonna bring first. We're gonna destruct some stuff out of the const configuration that this right here. Where's the config at? Right here. All right. We are destructing a bunch of this stuff here. Let's just bring it all out. Let's just copy all this. And where are we? Oh, right here. All right. So we're going to destruct. The user, we're gonna destruct. When I mean destruct, I mean we're going to, out of the entire Okta auth configuration, we're gonna bring just a couple of things out. That's what destructing really means. We're gonna use the redirect URI. And we are gonna use the scopes. Are we gonna use everything? Okay. We're not gonna use any of that other stuff. Oh yeah, we're gonna use the user interaction code. So we're not gonna use this. And we're gonna use that, and we're not gonna use this. And now we can just put that in one line. There you go. Get that comma out of there. Alright, so basically what I'm saying is out of all the inside, okay, so and then this is going to come from the Okta auth configuration. So what I'm basically saying here is out of the Okta configuration file, this right here, I'm using a bunch of this stuff. So basically all of it except this and this. And it's there. So now all of this is at my disposal. I can use all of this stuff. Alright. And then now I'm gonna basically do something similar for a const widget. So my widget is going to be a new instance of Okta sign-in. There you go. And I'm going to create an object in there. And inside that object, what I'm going to bring is my base URL. And okay, so I think this is where I was going to put this stuff right here. So my base URL, so I can just bring it in like this from Okta widget config whatever. So I have to make sure that I load it up there as well. So const. Now I don't know if this is, yeah, right there. Right. So I'm gonna bring in my Okta sign-in widget configs. Now that is going to be my base URL. It's gonna be my client ID, and it's gonna be my redirect URI. And now in the auth parameters, I am going to add my issuer, but the issuer alone is not going to understand what it is, so I have to add that so that it knows that this issuer belongs to this object right here. And then scopes. I gotta give it a value. Is that right? No, you know what? I'm not gonna do that there. So forget that. Yeah, just keep that there. Save this. Then go back to your custom login, and then you want to bring that in there actually. So here you're gonna bring the auth params. Yeah, auth params, and then from auth params you're gonna bring your issuer in there. Yep, now it's available. There you go. We're gonna bring our issuer, and then we're gonna bring our scopes. Okay, cool. Yeah, we're tracking. So I am adding to my Okta widget right here, to my widget. I am gonna act my Okta signing widget configs, which I am injecting from in here. And then in my auth params, my parameters, I'm gonna pass the issuer and I'm gonna pass the scopes. So I don't need this because this is not coming any longer from here. This is already coming from in here. It's already defined in there. And I believe the okay, so I still gotta bring this one in. So outside of the params, outside of the params, I am going to use interaction code flow, I think it's called. Use interaction code flow, which is gonna come from interaction code. All right, so I'm gonna need that. Let me just make sure that I have everything I need. Oh, okay, and then there's one more thing I'm adding here, which is gonna be the label for the form, for the widget name on the top, like what the name is going to be called. In my case, I'll call it sign in form, sign in. And I know this is a little confusing, but also I'm trying to type and explain at the same time. So that's going to be EN, which I believe is code for English. And then there is going to be primary auth title, primary auth dot title. So that's a prop, basically. It's called that way. And then what is it that I'm injecting in there? It's going to be just sign in form. Just call it sign in. All right, cool. So what I'm doing here basically is I am let me make sure that everything is correct here. Right. So what I'm doing here is I am bringing from Okta config. Right here from my config, I'm bringing my issuer, my scopes, and my user interaction code. So right here, my issuer, my scopes, and my user interaction code. I'm bringing that from in there, and then I create a widget. Right, that's just the name. I'm just creating a variable called widget, which I am assigning to a new I'm creating a new object of my Okta signing. And I'm passing some parameters in there, some arguments actually. And in these arguments, I'm going to be the configurations for my Okta config signing widget, which is going to be this. So it's no different. It really isn't no different than me doing this, for example. It's no different than doing this, than adding that stuff like that. But instead of adding it like this, right? Instead of adding it like this, I'm just basically keeping it here away, so that way I have one place only that I can, play with them. I'm keeping it there and I'm exporting it and then importing it back in here and injecting it in here. So it's the same thing. Just keeping it in a safer place. I could even just grab this and also put that in here as well, but just keep it in here. And the reason why is because I may want this signing to say signing here, but if I use this file in another page, I may want it to say something else. So this is more to like specific to this particular widget, whereas this is basically global parameters or global properties for the widget configuration itself. No matter which one, what you name it and what they'll have inside, they're all going to share this. All right, hopefully that made sense. The auth parameters basically means some parameters that you have to send to the widget for the widget to understand what it is that you're trying to do with it. And you have to send the user, the issuer, otherwise the widget don't know what to do with it. And the scopes is basically you also send into the widget which parameters the widget is going to use to function, which is going to be the email and all that other stuff. All right. So now that that's done, now we're gonna have to start integrating this, or not integrating, but attaching this to something, right? So attaching it to eventually to the HTML. So what we're going to do is we're gonna grab this widget right here, and then we're gonna call the render element function, or method rather, and then the render method is going to then say widget ref current. It's gonna use the widget, and next thing we want to do is create a response there, and that is going to call Okta auth, Okta auth, and then handle login redirect. Handle login redirect to the response tokens. Handle login redirect response tokens. I believe that's correct. Okay. I was wondering what was wrong. All right. So, and then another for the error. So this is basically like a try catch. And then if there's an error in the call, then we want to make sure that you throw the error. Okay. So this is basically an exception. We're doing an exception that if it works, to handle the login redirect, and if not, to throw an exception. All right. And you need to get familiar with JavaScript if you don't understand this, but if not, then just follow exactly what I did, because this will pretty much be the same for no matter which widget you try to select to attach. All right, and then the next thing is going to be the return, which is going to be an anonymous function. And that's going to be the widget remove. And basically what this does is, after it happened, right, this return is part of the use effect function. It's basically saying after all of this took place, what this is a detachment. This basically just unhooks the widget so that it's not constantly loaded, right? So after it's logged in, you want to unmount, basically. So all of this up here mounts it on load, because it's a use effect function. That's what it does. It mounts things on page load. And then this it happens after if you don't need it to be mounted forever, you can unmount it by doing this, by simply just saying widget, this guy right here, everything that I just said in here, all of this, just remove it, and it unmounts it. All right, and then the last thing you need to do, just to close this out, is to put the dependency, because you want this to change according to something, so that it's not constantly loading. And there it is. The dependency is going to be Okta auth. So whether it's authenticated or not, you want it to change. All right, so now that that's done, now we can go ahead and building inside the return here, which is our HTML. And then first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to box, and then I'm going to bring my container, and then inside my container I am going to put a div. That was weird. And then that div is going to have a reference to, you guessed it, widget ref. So now you see how this makes sense. This widget ref is basically how this use reference is using this widget ref right here to connect by reference to this div right here. So it's gonna load inside this div. So if there were two divs in there, it would just load into that one. So this is a self-closing div, so I can just take that out and just leave it like this. All right, so let me see, this is all good, everything is checking. So if I hit save, this should change, and you should see the login form show up as soon as I finish compiling. Yep, still compiling. And there it is. A logo should have been up here, but I didn't worry about putting a logo in there, so there you go. Now you have the ability to sign in. So if I hit sign in, I should be able to sign in. However, it's not going to do anything because the profile page hasn't even showed up, hasn't even been made. But you should, I think, see profile here somewhere. So let me go ahead and sign in and see if it's right. unless I missed anything, maybe it won't work until I actually finish the setup. All right, let me just inspect it just to make sure. And yeah, it doesn't look like there's any issues. Everything should be fine. So it's just probably not logging in because I haven't done anything to the profile page yet. So the thing is, it's trying to access the profile page, which is a secure route, but I haven't loaded Okta Auth onto that secure route to validate first if that person that is trying to log in here is actually even supposed to be there, because this could be hacked, right? So you have to make sure that you at that page level also validate that that person didn't steal anything like passwords or whatever, and that person is actually in fact the person that should be there and that should have been using this. Make sense? All right, so let's just go ahead and refresh this so we can stop that process from happening. And we're going to stop it here, and in the next page we're going to set up the profile page and make sure that we check for the user to see if that user is supposed to be the user that is there. All right guys, I'll see you later.